feels so good. Greetings and salutations, everybody, and welcome back to Learning the Ropes here on our new night, Thursday nights. And boy, oh boy, it feels good to be back. I'm XLJ, the OG, joined by my partner in crime from parts unknown, because he wanted me to say it before we went live. Anyways, my brother from another mother, Mr. B-Roll.
You know why I wanted you to say it? Because I'm making a triumphant return.
That's right. And brother,
back-
it's good to see you. Good to
back-
have you, brother.
Back to our regularly scheduled programming, on time, feeling good, looking good. Got lots of good wrestling coming.
Oh
Yeah.
my God, yes.
Lots of fun stuff to talk about tonight. We have some absolutely awesome, beautiful, amazing guests. Handsome. They'd probably prefer handsome over beautiful.
Finely distinguished gentlemen. I don't know, something. Yeah,
The
handsome.
scholars of the wrestling business.
Yes. But dude, it's great to have you back. I'm so glad you're able to join us here tonight. Just know you that got our love and support from all of us here at Cole TV and all of us who love our favorite wrestling newbie buddy.
Well, I very much appreciate it, but how we start every show, we've got to start it with a little bit of
Plug-a-palooza, if you will. So let's get right into Plug-a-palooza. So, Cole TV, we've been a little busy. We got a lot of stuff going on right now. So, of course, thank you, Brian from Developmentally Speaking.
Thank
Appreciate love.
you.
We love you, buddy. And
You
keep
too,
up with all
brother.
good work too. He's killing it right now. Some of these interviews he's getting is amazing. Quoted frequently in Wrestling Inc. Just saying, among other sources. But anyways, yes, Cole TV. All this. What can you catch right now? Well, you can catch replay of Pro Wrestling 60. You can catch we had a very special PW 60 report this week from our good friend Light Skin Gaijin on Stardom. You should definitely check that out, especially if you're looking to get into Stardom wrestling. We also had, I think we had a new Colecast this week, right? I'm losing track of things. Yes, we had a new Colecast that went up earlier this week as well. It's just been busy, man. And we got so much more awesomeness coming your way here on Cole TV. Stay tuned later this week as Saturday, you will see our Forbidden Door prediction show because it is Happy Forbidden Door weekend. Holy shit, how excited are you for Forbidden Door?
Oh man, it is impossible to contain my excitement but I will.
Yes.
But yes, it is gonna be a good wrestling weekend for sure.
Absolutely, man. We're going to kick it off right here on Learning the Ropes tonight because that's our topic tonight. We are talking about professional wrestling supercards. And we had to bring out the big guns for this one. We had to bring out the big minds because tonight, folks, you're going to learn something because, believe it or not, B-Roll, inter-promotional wrestling supercards have been around forever pretty much. And we're going to go do a deep dive on the history of pro wrestling supercards.
That is right. We're going to talk about what you're saying is, what you're telling me is the Forbidden Door has been cracked open for a while now.
Oh yeah, it's just nobody's been able to find it until Papa Khan found it, I guess you could say. Or really New Japan, because New Japan is just like the nucleus of all this, really. And we're going to get into that. But first and foremost, man, we got to bring on our guest.
Let's do it.
Their good, close, personal friend. He is a true wrestling historian. He loves professional wrestling. He's our brother. Please welcome Simple Nicholas. What's up, brother?
Not much. Hey, guys. How are you?
Doing awesome, man. Ready for some Forbidden Door, my friend.
I am like so happy because not only do I get to see you tonight, but let's see, it's Thursday night. So like 72 hours ish. I guess
Yeah.
in person.
Yeah.
Did I do my math right? Is it more than that?
Steiner math.
We'll just call
correct,
it 72.
Yeah.
Let's just stay 72.
I'll see him on Sunday.
Mathematics are for guys with ties.
I like it.
No, thanks for having me on, guys. I don't really consider myself a historian, but I appreciate it. You guys are always good to me, and hopefully I can add one bit of wisdom tonight.
Absolutely,
but thanks again.
Man. And also, we've got probably Wrestle Talk's greatest wrestling mind with us tonight. You know him, you love him. Please welcome Michael J. Duplessis.
I wouldn't say that. but thank you.
Oh, you're quite welcome, my friend. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing good. How are y'all doing?
Man, doing amazing. Doing so amazing because we are primed and ready for Forbidden Door. But like I said at the beginning of this, I think a lot of people don't really realize that wrestling supercards have been around pretty much since like going all the way back to the 50s. When you think about it, if not like even before that, because I mean we're going all the way back into the territorial days when like promotions could actually work with each other because you had your territory. But hey, why not put on a super show where you get more fans to come in? Gotta ask you guys first of all, like the obvious question: why is it we love these super cards?
Perception of fantasy. I think that's. I mean, it's one of those things you always. I'm gonna go from an 80s 70s point of view. You had the after mags would be what ifs, and you'd have that, and I think that's that. Well, look at what is, I would say, conservatively, like I said, that math is for guys with ties, but like 75% of TikTok is what if, and if you could bring so and so back. I mean, I think that's what it's the same thing as if you flip over to ESPN now. And you're like, what if Jordan played in this era?
Oh, yeah.
So and so forth. It's the same thing that we have now, but now it's kind of, with wrestling, it's a lot easier. I mean, you don't really, I mean, you get these matches and but you got to bear with me here. I got a lot going on.
No, you're
I think that's the whole thing. It's one more of those key things about fantasy booking and fantasy anything in life and what ifs. That's one of the reasons I think a lot of people love this stuff. And it's a shame that because of TV money and royalties that certain things won't ever get to play out. Unfortunately, when you need it to play out, it won't happen during said wrestler's prime, i.e. Taker and Sting. I think that's probably the biggest what if, like, super card things that if we could ever had. I mean, I think that's one of the things. I think that's one of the big things about super. Plus the fact it's always cool. If I talk too much, just do this and tell me to cut
You're good,
off.
brother. You're good.
But I think one of the things is growing up where you would see enhancement talent versus your star. And not until the Monday Night Wars did you finally see what you would perceive as top guys going at it. You didn't get that, and that's one of the big things. Like, we'll dive into it, but this Backlund and
like Morales or something like that.
Yeah. You know what I mean.
Yeah. No, I think it's one of those. It goes back to that fantasy booking. I mean, this is like. I mean, I can remember as a kid having my own wrestling league with my action figures and having my WCW guys go against the WWF guys. It's so taboo. Like, oh, it's not gonna happen. Video games, the same.
Yeah,
same
I was gonna
concept.
say it's like video game stuff. I mean, with me when it comes to wrestling, yes, I am the pro wrestling newbie, but I like to subscribe to the Frozen theory. Love is an open door. You want to love wrestling? Let it be an open door. Let it be an open door policy.
Yeah.
Come and go as you please. It's
Frozen
better.
quote.
That's what you just literally did a Frozen quote on this show.
I literally did. I literally did. Get over it. Let it go. Okay.
Love is an open door. Okay. Sorry.
One of the other things before we really get to dive in that I just want to, for your audience, we're going to use the term supercard a lot. That's kind of, it's an umbrella term. I mean, supercards are kind of what you would predate what you'd call a pay-per-view for a company.
Yeah.
I think you'll see us kind of watch, I believe all four of us will talk about the evolution of these supercards. And eventually when we start getting towards 70s, you will see that what we're talking more about for grander scale is territorial companies that have become national, NWA, AWA, WWF, working together.
There's matches I think people don't realize, like, oh yeah, this actually did happen too. So
I just like when we use supercard, I always precurse it as the match, like the cards before they had short circuit TV and pay-per-view and that. But I think it's a great term for these things like Forbidden Door and the New Japan stuff with WCW.
Oh yeah,
So-
and I think too. I don't. If the people like. Here's the thing: IWC is bitching and griping about how there's no storyline build. You don't need storyline for these type of cards, folks. This is literally like, okay, this guy's in this promotion, this guy's in this promotion. They're like both like amazing talent. They've never wrestled before. They're gonna wrestle. That's all you need to know. Just shut the fuck up, sit back, and enjoy it.
Yeah.
Well,
I was gonna say if you follow me on the Book of the Face or on Instagram, you saw my post. Why do I love professional wrestling? And I had a picture of the Okada and Danielson stare down. This is exhibit A through Z.
Right.
Well, I just want to throw this out here. If they had storylines for all this stuff and they had spent the last 6 weeks building stories, you would still see people be, this is fucking stupid. Why do they need stories? It's supposed to be just fantasy matchups. You don't need all these things.
You complain just to complain.
Yeah, and I think that's evident. I've seen it. I seen it just this morning looking at stuff. Like, I mean, to me, Okada versus anybody on this thing would have been just hyper for me. But seeing this stuff and Tanahashi and MJF. What did you ever think? Did you think that was
crazy?
Right?
I mean, do you think
that's
and like Mikey was talking, I know we're getting into you're doing a Forbidden Door show, but it's just there's so much happening in the now with the past, and it's all great. I love it. I love professional wrestling, and I'll say that every time I'm on this show.
Say it loud and say it proud. Yeah, it's not like people in the 50s were like, oh God, Danny Hodge against Pat O'Connor. Oh, but there's no story build to this. Oh my God, they're just gonna have a 20-minute headlock and transition into maybe a body flip. Like,
that's one of my favorite things. My fantasy things. I like to picture Dick the Bruiser Crusher with a Twitter. Like I like to picture them. I loved it. Big cigars. They got these phones with them giant or even Bruiser Brody. Like imagine Brody like, I can't believe that no selling son of a bitch tonight. I'll tell you one thing.
I can't even imagine.
Oh my God.
That's one of my favorite. And then I've always wanted, because my dad's not around or my mom, I just always wondered, like when you got up Monday night and you got done watching Gorgeous George, did you go to the water cooler and been like, could you believe how sloppy that was in the ring rope number 2 when he didn't do the turn? I know what should have been that finish, brother, and that wasn't it, brother.
Oh my God, I could only imagine. I feel like that can definitely be like a TikTok or something.
This is all 4 of us. This is our new thing. We should do old timey videos where we dress up as old 40s, 50s, 60s superstars in the like we do a time machine where they end up in 2023. They got a magical like Ford Cooper or Lincoln.
There you go. A review like old wrestling shows, like, Barnaby, I didn't quite the finish to that match.
Like monocles. You got Frank. You got George Hackenschmidt and Frank Gotch with monocles and top hats using today's slang. Anyway.
I do love the thought of Bruiser Brody complaining about people no-selling when he no-sold so many people.
Yeah, that's the first thing I thought of was like, oh my God.
Bruiser Brody complaining about no-selling everyone is crazy.
Oh, isn't that? And then you can think about him like his response back. What the fuck do you know? Like I just picture a lot of swearing from him, and I don't.
Oh, I can't even imagine.
Brody,
he would make the Iron Sheik blush. I think.
I don't know. I think that's fun. I don't mean any disrespect to anybody that's not with us, and that's all lighthearted. I would like to see some of this stuff. Or like I mean, I can't imagine guys don't go back right now and look at it. Like I would like some of the shit they do on the screen just so they can go see what the comments are. You know what I mean? Buzz Sawyer.
Oh yeah, love me some Buzz. But I'm a stickler for origins, as you all know. So in my research of what I could find, and by the way, if you don't agree with any of this or you want to look more into this, you could always. Oh, I lost my Wikipedia button. You could Wikipedia that shit because everybody gets
Wikipedia that shit.
Thank you, sir. The very first super card I could find, believe it or not, came from Southwest Sports Parade of Champions, and
Which
we're
would
talking
be world
big
class.
time wrestling, which was world class.
Yep.
Yep.
Southwest, big time, and then what you guys know as world class or the Dallas territory, right?
That's right. So the very first one was January 31st, 1961 at Texas Stadium in Irving, Texas. Now,
That's even before the Cowboys were in that stadium.
oh yeah,
That's impressive.
Yeah.
Oh, dang.
yeah. Listen to some of these matchups, fellas, on this card. You had Hogan Wharton and Pepper Gomez going up against Jet Monroe and Sputnik Monroe for the NWA Texas Tag Team Championship. For the Texas Heavyweight Championship, Don Manukin against Alex Perez, and Danny Hodge defending the NWA World Junior Heavyweight Championship against Jerry Kosak in a 2 out of 3 falls match. But go ahead,
before you
brother.
get to your main event, can I just, if anybody's watching this, I need more footage of Jerry Kosak. So if anybody has some stuff, send it my way. The Danny Hodge Jerry Kosak is an outstanding match. I've only read about it, so
I was like, these are literally paid names I've never even. I'm lost here.
We're going old school, baby.
Oh yeah. And the other thing is, I highly recommend if you are into any form of, social and civil reform, look up Sputnik Monroe. That guy, besides being great in the ring and that, he did a lot to help mend communities that didn't see, a certain community that didn't feel another community could come to the matches. But Sputnik is really, really cool dude. He's a great human too, as far as I can tell. Anyways, let's go to the main event of this thing.
The main event, Pat O'Connor defended the NWA World Heavyweight Championship against Dory Dixon. And this matchup ended up in a draw as they went not 60 minutes. No. That's for a bunch of wussies. 90 minutes. A 90-minute draw. Could you have just imagined, but the thing is, completely different sport, completely different era we're talking about here in the 60s, folks.
Fun fact about Dory Dixon, he's British born, but he spent a majority of his time in Central America wrestling. He was a Calypso Kid. Yeah, under a mask. He had a couple other, but very cool if you guys are ever looking for I'm always big into that, where guys from different countries end up and wrestle. But yeah, Dory was a mainstay in the lucha scene in Central.
Oh, really?
Central
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Now, of course, this was like the first recorded Supercard. I mean, this was kind of like a blending of different guys from different territories. This isn't necessarily like a promotion versus a promotion type of deal or anything. You got to keep that in mind with this, folks. So
yeah.
And there were a couple other of these Parade of Champions shows. In 63, they did 2. And then you kind of go fast forward into the 70s, they had some as well.
Which is very interesting before you jump to the 70s parade. Dory Dixon main evented in the third one against Thez. And Thez did the main event for the 2 in January and June. I got here on my notes. Sorry if I look off to my notes. I'm trying to be more professional, but I'm old. But
you're good, dude.
I think that's fascinating. Thez was just the man. When we talk about our modern day guys, you're doing a parade of champions. You got to have the NWA World Champion in the 60s on there.
Speaking of Thez, he was also at the second one where he defended the NWA World Title in a 2 out of 3 falls against Ray Gunkel. Yeah. So, which I know these are all names from the past, probably names you've never heard of, but you should really check it out, because this era to me of professional wrestling, this is really kind of a romantic era to me. It's not for everybody.
Ray Gunkel is one that you really I implore younger or newer fans or guys that are learning, they might not have done tech. Ray Gunkel is one you want to kind of look up and check out some of his stuff.
Also, too, to note on these shows we're talking about from 63, they also did take place at the Sportatorium, the world famous Sportatorium in Dallas, Texas as well.
Yeah.
So, but I want to move on next and talk about the Super Bowl of wrestling. And I find this one fascinating, gentlemen. So this took place in 1972, but this is what I find fascinating about this. The way they did this, there wasn't one, there wasn't two, but there was 3 rings side by side. And a lot of the times what they do during this card, they would have multiple matches going on at the same time. So you could like watch different matches, which to me is just insane. Like I can't.
That's okay.
It's pretty wild because it's like, okay, like whose story or whose like ring work are you paying attention to here? You know?
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of like
my
overload.
my OCD would be like going crazy, like be like, I'm overstimulated. Okay, there's so much
be
of what I
like,
love, but
You'd be like the dog looking at the playing tennis. You know, it's just like, what do I do? What do I do here? But now it's interesting. This actually took place at Municipal Stadium in Cleveland, Ohio. And so the attendance figures, they kind of vary, but back then, this is huge. They had an estimated as high as up to 20,000 fans in attendance. But you got to keep in mind, back in the day, like that's.
No fact.
I like reading that it also could have been 5,000.
It's like.
But
and now, if this was
things like when we talk modern wrestling and they talk about, you know, if it was a seller or not, and the old guy. I learned very young. The old guys would always say they were hanging from the rafters. There were so many people there.
Yeah, if you go the Vince McMahon spin on it, there was 120,000 fans in attendance.
Yeah, we're going back to like, you know, like we don't count the women and children. Okay, like so we have to assume that everybody had like a family of 3 there,
but like. That's one of the things too, though, about promotion, man. Why wouldn't you say, it had to have been 20,000. It had to have been. Biggest show I've ever done.
The fact that 20,000 people want to go to Cleveland of all places is
that too. You're already shooting yourself in the foot. Who the fuck wants to go to Cleveland? But it's okay.
Hey, man, Cleveland rocks.
I'm a Drew Carey fan, so I love that. But no.
Oh man, good times. But some of the matches on this card I find interesting. You had they had a tag team tournament go on throughout. Like you got a little who's who of everybody on this card from that time frame. You know, Waldo Von Erich. You got your I guess what would we the correct PC term? Little people. Is that right? We could say that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was about to say there's a lot of little people matches on this card.
Yeah, you got Skylo Low on here, the Haiti Kid, Frenchie Lamont.
Little Brutus.
Little Brutus. Yeah, you had the NWF World Tag Team Championship on the line here with the Fargo brothers, Don and Johnny, going up against Wahoo McDaniel and Chief Whiteout. Believe it or not, you also have got a couple women's matches on this card too. I feel like this is like a very diversified card.
Versus Vicky Williams sounds amazing.
Right? Yeah.
I need to find that match.
And then, man, oh man, how about this one? I know this is right up your alley, Nicholas. United States title with Bobo Brazil against Killer Tim Brooks.
That is what that. See, Bobo was Dad's favorite. Killer Tim Brooks was a big name-stay around here because of Texas wrestling and all the other places. That probably would have been like the one where I couldn't control myself. There'd be a lot of screaming and having a tantrum and throwing popcorn, and that's the match.
I wouldn't be able to control myself. Is the match after that Ernie Ladd versus Abdullah the Butcher?
Abdullah the Butcher, yeah.
As a Mid-South fan, Ernie Ladd is a god down there in Louisiana, along with Junkyard Dog. So that's amazing.
Yeah, that's pretty. That is a pretty awesome match.
Now,
the fact that it ended up in a disqualification and it has Abdullah in the match is
you know what I love.
What do you love?
Abdullah but we were talking about this earlier. Abdullah the Butcher has discovered social media.
Yes, he has.
Yeah. No, he has not. Is he on Twitter?
He's on Instagram.
He's on Instagram, dude.
Yeah.
Talking about his failed restaurant?
Like promotes where he's gonna be and stuff.
Hey, had to go there, Duplessis.
You say no crap about him because he has an open invitation to come on here for an interview. That would be one heck of an interview. Oh, hi Abby, how you doing today?
Talk about giving people hepatitis C.
Don't stab me with a fork today. It's Thursday.
Anytime I can bust out my Abdullah the Butcher figure, I'm happy.
Johnny Powers versus Johnny Valentine is also seems.
Yeah,
like a good
and
idea.
that's like your main event on this card for the NWF North American Championship. So, they did have another one. Now, I think this next one.
Shout out to the Valentine family because they are pride of Washington State.
Oh, that's true. Your home state there, brother.
This is a big one.
Yes,
This one
1978.
you're coming in. Yeah.
This is the orange. I think people, maybe if you're a longtime wrestling fan, you're probably a little familiar with this card because this is at the Orange Bowl in Miami, Florida. And the big draw on this one, folks, is the it was a unification match between the WWF champion, the Worldwide Wrestling Federation champion, and NWA World Champion. So, folks, this would literally be the equivalent today of if the AEW champion met the WWE champion. So, but in this matchup, you had your Worldwide Wrestling Federation champion, superstar Billy Graham, going up against the NWA World Champion, my man, Mr. Harley Race.
Nice shirt, brother.
Thank you, sir.
He
Thank
dressed
you.
for the occasion.
I did. I sure did. And man, just you talk about a clash and a contrast of styles in this matchup, man. Very interesting matchup. Now, ultimately, I went to a 60-minute time limit draw, as you can imagine. And this was a 2 out of 3 falls matchup. So, we gotta have that dusty finish in there.
Well, and yeah.
Because that's the one thing when you're using interpromotional, like you're having stuff like this, it's like, okay, which guy's going to go over,
The fact that they had 2 referees representing both promotions.
Yeah. Well, look, I mean, and that's, I think, one of the things, too, like people, when we start doing our fantasy talking and that, you got to understand, I don't care who you are, you're going in, if you're taking your company with another company, you have to have some sort of insurance that you're not going to come looking bad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And let's be honest, the guys up north and the Waterloo group aren't the most trustworthy individuals to not make sure that their stuff or their wrestler looks good. I think that's one of the things as you guys go into your preview tonight and you want to make, when we talk about these super cards, you have to get both wrestlers to agree now. You got to make sure your company doesn't look bad, especially if your champion's in it. You can't have your champion. I mean, could you imagine if you would have had this, you have this, and Billy Graham says, "You know what? I'll lay down for you, Harley." Can you imagine? Like, I mean, then you're like, well, that ends the debate.
What's that say about
Harley
your title?
Or vice versa or whatever.
Finger poke of doom or something like that. Like
and then like what we talk, you guys as you guys will go through your journeys and the stuff, you'll see what happens when a guy takes a belt across the seas and somebody offers them $50,000, $25,000. They'll sell off their championship.
Ask Mike Awesome.
Ask Otto Wan's buying the belt. Ask I mean, I was it didn't one of the WWF guys sell their belt in Japan when he wasn't supposed to?
Oh man,
I can't remember, and that's why I don't do dirt sheets and stuff. I'm always wrong, but
I don't remember that.
Yeah, that was early.
The rest of that card is amazing.
Oh, Dusty and Kenny Patera?
Yeah, let's talk about that. Dusty
Jerry and Jack Briscoe versus Mr. Saito and
Ivan Koloff.
Dude,
Pedro Morales.
Pedro and Lars.
Anderson.
We're an Anderson family, man. But Lars and Pedro, come on now.
Yeah. Mike Graham and Steve Kern versus the Valiant Brothers.
Yeah.
Like, that's a stacked.
Yeah.
Yeah, this card, this is truly like one of the first true, like, mega super cards.
Think about the brawl of Putski and Ox Baker. Imagine, throw that in the ECW arena in '93 at their prime.
A young Bravo Senior.
Yeah.
Tank Patton. You got Bobby Duncombe against Don Serrano.
Duncombe's are another family of what ifs.
Especially Junior. I was just watching WCW '99, and
Yeah.
that stupid West Texas redneck gimmick they made him do. Which, by the way, I'm going to take your show to gripe about something. You have a gimmick called the West Texas Rednecks, and your leader is from Minnesota?
Minnesota.
Yeah, but dude, I like country music.
First off.
Richard, and I like NASCAR racing. Richard Petty's still.
But the fact
king.
that the leader is from Robbinsdale, Minnesota, and you're going to call yourself the West Texas Rednecks.
Kayfabe, brother. Kayfabe.
Exactly.
So
Well,
wait a minute, let me
how
ask you
you-
this, Mike. What is your
how
bigger
you-
gripe? Would it be that, or would it be the fact that Fenton was part of West Texas Redneck?
That's also a big gripe because I made a video about that. My biggest gripe about that is in the middle of that, they changed his name from Vincent to Shane. Like, let's just take a shoot on both the McMahons.
I forgot they fucking did that. Oh, they did call him Shane.
Like, we took our shots at Vince. Let's take our shots at the younger McMahon.
Oh.
For
God.
what reason, Russo?
Oh my God. Such
Oh.
good times. Good times. But
Good
I mean, that Super Bowl of wrestling was freaking epic on so many levels. I kind of want to fast forward here a little bit and get kind of to the era when a lot, I think more fans are going to be acclimated with. And I think we got to talk about first and foremost the very first David Von Erich Memorial Parade of Champions from 1984. Which how appropriate was this? Because I mean, this was a huge event in Dallas, Texas, of course, to honor the late great David Von Erich. So this was a world-class show. But man, go back and you can see a lot of footage. Like, side note here, and Nicholas, you're going to know this. Like, a lot of footage from world class or from this show is in the very first ever produced wrestling VHS tape,
Yeah.
Lords of the Ring for PWI.
And-
So they have a couple of the matches off this card on there.
And as a lot of you guys know, is we will regurgitate things that most people do know now that we're getting kind of into the 80s. Before we hop into how really big the 84 show is, let's not forget that the Christmas Star Wars in 82 really
This
kicked
is
off
true.
what really kicked off kind of the big, kind of a big Texas boom.
Yeah,
for
and
wrestling.
and that really ignited and started the Von Erich Freebird feud as well.
Yes,
I mean-
and that's what kind of really leads to how this all kind of builds together and why these are supercards and getting companies to work together. But yeah, let's deep dive into
This
Parade
is a
of Champions.
stupid loaded card, man. I mean,
Yeah.
you got how about let's just run through each of them. Like your opener, Kelly Kinski against Johnny Mantle.
Johnny Mantell is Ken Mantell's brother.
Or Johnny, I'm sorry, Johnny Man. Yeah, that's right.
And Ken was the booker, and Johnny Mantell was running the Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame out there in Wichita Falls, Texas. I believe.
really?
There were some
Okay.
issues. Johnny was hell of a enhancement talent. A little bit more than that. Had some hell of matches with Chris Adams.
Oh,
But
yeah.
anyways, I'm sorry. Once we start,
No, you're
talking
good.
about it,
Speaking of Chris Adams, he was in a mixed tag as he teamed with Sunshine to go up against Jimmy Garvin and Precious.
oh,
and that was a
that's
great.
real-
That was a great.
There's our
story.
wheelhouse.
Yeah, buddy. Butch Reed against Chick Donovan. Man, listen to these two back-to-back matches, folks. Kamala against the Great Kabuki, and then the Junkyard Dog against the Missing Link.
And let's also talk about Skandor and Gary.
Oh, yes.
I mean, you got two outstanding character wrestlers that have matched with two great wrestling minds.
Gosh, yeah.
My only thing is the placing, and I don't want to be one of those, but I would have put that down a little bit further over Buck Zumhofe.
Yes.
That's just me.
You know
Yes.
who the last wrestler Gary Hart managed was?
Who was it?
Low Key.
Oh, okay.
Really? Huh.
He
trying to think Ring
came
of
into
Honor.
MLW 2
Yeah.
months before they shut down doors the first time in 04.
Oh, I'll be damned. I didn't know that.
He managed Low Key and Homicide.
Wow.
And then he
God,
would
that's
die.
an interesting. That's a fascinating group right there. Holy crap.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you say, with Skandor Akbar and Gary Hart, that was just a recipe to make money, man. Yeah, and then after that, like you say, you get Rock and Soul with Buck Sumhoff and Iceman King Parsons going up and defeating the Super Destroyers of Bill and Scott Irwin. And
The
then
Super D's, you're going down, Super D's. I love the
Two
Iceman.
brothers that the WWF once again screwed when they hired them.
Yeah.
yeah. And then you got your six-man tag team matchup, of course, for the NWA World Six-Man Tag Titles. Of course, you got the Von Erichs keeping it in the family, baby. Old Fritz getting in the ring there with Kevin and Mike going up against the Fabulous Freebirds in a classic rivalry. But, gentlemen, we got to talk about this main event for the NWA World Heavyweight Championship. Kerry Von Erich against Ric Flair. And, of course, this being the tribute show to David Von Erich. Kerry Von Erich going over and getting the NWA World Heavyweight Championship. I'll never forget, man, that crowd's reaction when he won. Holy shit.
That's what I was going to say. You want to talk about a pop. You want to talk about a pop.
God. And then, like, old Kevin coming out, just hugging the hell out of Kerry, man. What a moment. Like such a tremendous moment. Like, everything about that, from the crowd reaction to the finish. Beat him with a backslide, folks. A backslide, but I guarantee you it's probably the greatest, like, more historic backslide you ever see in pro wrestling.
Yeah.
And the fact that, like, just the whole emotion of it, of that arena and stuff. I mean, my God, it's like, this was like peak world class, I would say, is this moment. With
Definitely when they were at their heights and they were, people in the Middle East were watching their show.
Yeah, man. But a tremendous
like we
moment.
say, I mean, I'm a newbie,
and you even knew that.
I even knew that one.
Yeah. Now, if we fast forward a year later, we get the second annual Von Erich Memorial Champions, and I hate to say it, like, if you look at this, it just chronologically just goes like. Now, this isn't a bad show. Don't get me wrong. This is a great show. I mean, listen to this lineup you got on this show. We'll highlight some matches. Always love me some Gino Hernandez, of course, one of the all-time greats. Teaming up with Gentleman Chris Adams, which, God, that was such a good team in world class. Holy shit.
We forgot you skipped over Terry Gordy and Kamala.
Yeah, the triple.
Oh, I did.
The triple Dome of Terror match, my man.
Yeah.
Was that a triple? Oh my God. Okay, guys, let's talk about the triple Dome of Terror first. Terry Bam Bam Gordy.
And that's what you need to say. There was a triple Dome of Terror. No.
But you did also have Mike Von Erich against Rip Oliver, and the Fantastics against the Midnight Express, which was always a great rivalry. And of course, you're going to have the Von Erichs on this one, the 12-man 2-ring tag team matchup with the Von Erichs and the Freebirds.
Yeah,
that's right. The Von Erichs teaming with the Freebirds. Yeah. Going up against Chris Adams, Gino Hernandez, Rip Oliver, One Man Game, Kamala, and Dr. Death, Steve Williams, with Skandor Akbar and Gary Hart.
When those two stables join together, that's crazy.
Well,
right?
If you review this card as I'm reviewing, because obviously I haven't probably seen the 5th annual one, probably in 15 years, but how talent was reused on the show. In multiple matches, like Terry Gordy pops up 2 or 3 times, right?
Yeah.
But still, they have an attendance. They have a decent attendance. Like, I mean, that's how big wrestling in the mid '80s were. If you look at this card and if let's say you had a preview to this and you're sitting there thinking, how many times can I watch Jason Sterling and Steve Casey wrestle?
Yeah.
And I don't mean that to besmirch them or anything, but
no.
I mean, watching Jason's probably like one match is probably good. I don't know. I'm not trying to be rude. I hate being that way, but I just the mid '80s boom. Like even at something like this that clearly has not its peak and prime, is still a super card. Like
yeah,
it really is. And I mean, you get a rematch with Kevin, or now you get Kevin Von Erich challenging Ric Flair for the NWA World Title on this as well. But yeah, you're right. Like, and Kerry goes up against One Man Gang in the main event. Now, the
The
significance
fact
of
that
this,
that's not the main event, the
Right.
title match,
right?
is crazy.
But it's because of the stip. Because the stip is if Kerry wins, then Fritz gets to wrestle One Man Gang, or Fritz gets a match with Gary Hart, I believe it was.
Yeah.
And ultimately that's, but I mean it's for Fritz because I mean hell,
True,
Fritz is the
yeah.
booker, so
Yeah.
you know.
I forgot
But-
Fritz like putting himself over.
Yeah, yeah. But if you look throughout the lineage here of these Von Erich Memorial Parade of Champion cards, I mean,
Fritz main evented a lot of things.
Yeah, yes, he did.
Well,
but I mean, it's to me, it's
That's what you
fascinating.
own. If I own the company, I'm gonna do what I want.
Well, and you think back in this era too, it's like, well, I could trust myself, so you know. And then when you're talking about these different promotions and stuff, so
And I don't know if you're getting ready to leave the Texas, but also the Cotton Bowl thing in '88, where you have Kerry.
Let's talk about that real quick.
You got Kerry going up with Lawler. I mean, now you've got World Class Wrestling Association at the time and AWA. You know, as everyone knows, this is to believe to be the last push to save. You know,
World
class AWA.
Yeah.
And I what were they working with Memphis too? I don't at this time. Yeah.
Yeah, because that's Lawler's promotion.
Because they weren't and USWA comes in 90, right? 89,
90, 91.
Yeah. Because that's what you got to bear with me, guys.
Yeah.
But, I mean, this is kind of like a venture, too, as what we're starting to talk about, which you'll start seeing as you collapse into the 90s with New Japan working with American talent to these. But this is kind of here we are, so another, like what we would call a forbidden door. You're starting to have the territories kind of work back together like you did. But this is more of a try to save what we got going on here.
Trying to go against Vince.
Yeah.
Yes, when you have promotions team up. But gentlemen, I gotta apologize because I skipped something that I want to talk about here briefly.
Yep.
We completely forgot to talk about Showdown at Shea.
Yeah.
And in the 70s, holy shit, like that. Now there was like 3 of these, and all of them are mega stupid, ridiculous cards. You know, the first one you've got, and of course we're talking Shea Stadium, home of the Mets. Pedro Morales against Bruno Sammartino for the Worldwide Wrestling Federation Championship ends in a draw, folks, because the back in the day, like they ran out of light because it got dark at night because there literally wasn't like lights and shit.
I forgot. Shea Stadium was
like,
one of the last stadiums to put lights in their stadium.
Yep. So it's like, well, it's dark. I guess this match is over with. But like,
you can't see me.
Yeah, literally, you can't see me. So, well, show's over, folks. See you next time. But the one I really want to in particular talk about is the mega card from 1976, because a lot of people will know this was famous, or maybe infamous, for the Antonio Inoki versus Muhammad Ali boxer versus wrestler match that took place in Japan, but they showed it on a close feed there to everybody at Shea Stadium, essentially.
What you mean the one with the one guy laying on the ground and the one guy standing up over him?
Pretty much, yeah.
Going around in circles.
Well, I believe so much so. I think the fans in Japan were actually chanting for their money back, essentially. Like, and Japanese crowds are so, polite stuff. This is how fucking bad this match was, folks. But there's some other good matches on this card, though. Like, you had another boxer versus wrestler matchup with Andre the Giant against Chuck Wepner. And for those of you who don't know, Chuck Wepner is the real-life inspiration behind the Rocky movies. Just saying.
Yes.
And if you don't believe us, you can always Wikipedia that shit.
Because this show's getting two. Also, for the WWF Heavyweight Championship, how about this one? Bruno Sammartino against Stan Hansen.
Yeah.
Oh, baby, you talk about big, meaty men slapping big, meaty men. That's the definition for me right there, dude.
He is another one who, I know we were talking earlier about wrestlers leaving with title belts. Stan Hansen leaving AWA with the AWA title to go back to All Japan is a crazy story.
Oh, yeah, when you think about it. But, man, Stan, God, he was so over in Japan. Like, we could do a whole episode talking about Stan Hansen. And In my opinion, and I don't think there's maybe some people argue, but I still think to this day Stan Hansen's the greatest gaijin that ever wrestled in Japan, in my opinion. But,
Yeah.
I mean,
Mine will always be Vader, but that's
oh, from a personal preference,
Yeah.
I love Vader. I think overall,
well, I mean,
like
and if we're gonna go
longevity
like, the Funk's it's probably Funk's and then the Stan, just because.
yeah.
I mean, Terry and them went after, I mean, when you listen to Terry and Dory talking about how they couldn't go into bars when they first started going to Japan because of Hiroshima and that stuff, and being able to be welcomed into the, later in the 70s, people were still upset, I mean, that's why like wrestling's such a melting pot of stuff, but
Oh yeah.
I think if I go Funk's 1, Stan 1A. That's just me,
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
DiBiase was big too. I mean, I love that. I think we need to have that show.
Yeah. Yeah, dude. I
guys,
Talking about gaijins in Japan?
Yeah,
Oh,
I think we
man.
could have like a 2 or 3 hour show on that.
I mean, you definitely.
That's got to happen. I want to talk about briefly here the last showdown at Shea 2, which took place in 1980, and the significance of this one is your main event, because in the main event you talk about a classic story being told, the steel cage match between Bruno Sammartino and Larry Sabisco, the classic student versus teacher.
Oh, yeah,
He turned on this was one of the big stories that got us, and this is one of my favorite PWI covers, is him choking him.
Yeah, buddy.
This is one of my absolute favorites. This is between this and Mr. Wrestling turning on Magnum are two big turn stories, which this is real. Like, and when you look at the card for the 80 Shea Stadium, which you're going to break down here.
Yep.
What this would have been a
this is nuts.
WrestleMania.
This is
those two
WrestleMania on steroids.
Those two heel turns and Ted turning on Duggan in Mid-South.
Very much, yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Well, listen to some of the listen to some of the names on this card. Dominic DiNucci against Baron Mikhail Scaluna. Tatsumi Fujinami against Chavo Guerrero Sr. The fourth match has Antonio Inoki on the card against Larry Sharp.
Yeah.
This one, listen to the fifth match. Bob Backlund and Pedro Morales against the Wild Samoans for the WWF tag titles. Like, what the fuck? How is that the fifth match on this show? That's crazy to me.
Those are legitimately all main events on a regular night.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
This is the pure definition
crazy
of show. Yeah.
Whoa.
You have Pat Patterson's on this card. You got
with Torquemada. Torquemada is a definite Northeast. When you hear older wrestlers talk, they'll talk about Torquemada like you do, the Samoans and the Butcher, Abdullah the Butcher, and stuff like that. But, anyways, I digress.
Oh, you're good, dude. And then Greg Gagne, Rick McGraw. You got Tony Atlas against Kim Patera for the IC title. Ivan Putski and Johnny Rods. Ooh, baby. The Hangman against Rene Goulet. And no, B-roll, it's not Hangman Adam Page. Okay, just throwing that out there. And by the way, also there was a match on this card. Andre the Giant against Hulk Hogan. Yeah, that's right. That happened at Shea Stadium long before their historic matchup at WrestleMania 3. Just saying. But yeah, the Shea Stadium shows were epic, and of course these were put on by the Worldwide Wrestling Federation of the WWF. So, but I kind of want to go back to where we were talking as we transgressed from the world class into teaming up with other promotions, and we got to talk about the AWA's super class shows from the 80s. Nicholas, what do you remember about these shows, my friend?
Super clashes, and like we had talked, Wrestle Rock. They were, that was the buzz. Like, I mean, we couldn't go to them. We always had to wait. I mean, these were really what I would consider the precursor, not 86, obviously, but these things, as AWA was doing some big stuff right before the Mania booms and the big Supercards and stuff.
Yeah. I mean, we're talking like at Comiskey Park and stuff, drawing like 20,000 people.
And that's that's the Road Warriors and Freebirds. Think about that. I mean, they're doing some. Gotta bear with me here. That is what you would consider today. Seeing, I don't know what you guys like, Usos and the Acclaimed.
Yeah, that's a very good way of putting it. Yeah.
Like the Bucks and Usos.
Yeah.
These are just matchups. It's just like this is
happening. Stuff like as we talked about when I thumbed through, or anybody thumbed through wrestling, you're like, this is it. We got the AWAs rocking and rolling with the Warriors and the Freebirds and which is wild, is because at the time the Freebirds were just as big in Minneapolis as they were in Dallas and Georgia. Same with Warrior, I mean, this is a big get, in my opinion, for the AWA to have this matchup at Comiskey,
And then also look at this too. I mean, you have the AWAs represented, you have the NWA represented, you have World Class is represented on this card, and this is like these federations, these companies, IWA too on here. That they're all working together to try to take down the giant at the time that was the WWF. So this is just kind of like, okay, if Vince ain't going to play fair, then we're going to combine. But the problem was, territorial, man. Like, okay, like you notice on here too, these title matches are pretty much.
I got really confused because in that first match is a dude named Steven Regal, and I got very like, hold on, what?
Oh yeah.
Is he a time traveler?
We're talking from back in the day. But I mean, look at this too. You got Mil Rastris on this card, Jumbo.
One of the things, if we don't, before you get into the super clashes, AWA threw on called Super Sunday, which was in '83. Now that's the one that's the big one because that's where Hogan beat Bockwinkel for the belt, but they had the disqualification rule and he had to return the championship. But that was like kind of the big. And then, 84, 85, we start bringing Manias. We have the clashes. But I wanted to bring, as AWA fans, just wanted to bring up Super Sunday.
So I just watched the AWA documentary.
Yep.
And that's where they had him and the Ganyas had a discrepancy about money. And that's when he went to go film Rocky.
Rocky 3. Yeah.
Well, and part of that too was this T-shirt money.
T-shirt money. Yep.
There's George Scheer, and Mick March. There's AWA Unleashed podcast. Those guys lived it, and they will tell you that they are great historians on the AWA. I can only speculate, only being 6-7 years old when this stuff happened and not back then. But I find that interesting. I'm sorry to cut you off, Mikey. I just wanted to plug those guys for people that are looking for. I want anybody watching this stuff, go to all these other people that have been there, lived it, and they get their perspectives on things.
Oh yeah.
Sorry, but
no, you're fine, dude.
No, you're good. I literally just got done watching the AWA documentary on Peacock the other day, and I remember like Hogan talking about. They were selling my merch without me knowing, and they were taking my money, and I did. So,
but then again, you got to look at the source it's coming from. They were doing that, brother. And then you fast forward to WrestleMania 3, where I body slammed Andre the Giant. He died a few days later. It's like, I'm sorry. I'll say it once. I'll say it before I say it 1,000 times. Look me square in the eye. Fuck you, Hulk Hogan. That's right. I fucking said it, you asshole. There. And I got it out of my system. Okay, I feel better now. But anyways.
The other Super Clash 2, Cow Palace.
Oh, yeah. Let's
Cow Palace. That's the Kurt Hennig, Nick Bockwinkel, almost 30 minutes. That is
kiss of a matchup.
That's one of my favorites. AWA. As you guys know, AWA is kind of my wheelhouse, and then Texas.
Well, it's kind of like your home promotion, too. I mean, in your neck in the woods, you grew up there in the prime AWA territory.
But another odd, just
by the way, the fact that that's not the main event of that,
isn't it? Yeah, yeah.
See,
what the
I
hell
have an issue when title matches aren't the main event, but the fact that a tag match with Jimmy Snuka and a Russ Francis
against
versus
the
the
terrorist and the mercenary, the fuck?
is the main event and not Bockwinkel, Hennig.
Yeah. How in the
Do we
hell
know
is
who the
Jerry
terrorist-
Blackwell and Boris Sukov
Do
going on?
Do you guys know who the terrorist is?
No.
The terrorist is Brian Knobs,
Really?
A young
I
Brian
didn't know
Knobs?
that.
and the mercenary, Ron
Champions.
Fuller.
Ron
Ron
Fuller?
According to this, I never dive deep into mask guys other than the obvious.
Yeah.
But according to what I have for reference, that is the terrorist and the mercenary. Now think
That's
about
crazy.
that. Think about that odd coupling.
That's
But-
wild. I'm still
But man,
pissed.
it's interesting how they jump from Comiskey to the Cow Palace, both historic places. But now though, we're getting into pay-per-view territory because this is really like the first real pay-per-view outside of the WWF or Crockett. We're talking Super Clash 3, which was a joint effort from the World Class Wrestling Association at this point. And of course, Jerry Lawler in Memphis with the CW.
This is the one where nobody got paid.
Yes. So this is well renowned for the main event, or at least like what should have went on last. The AWA combining with the WCWA title unification match with Jerry Lawler against Kerry Von Erich. And this is, I tell you, if anything, go back and watch that match, folks. It's a war. It is a bloodbath. If you don't like blood, you don't like the Crimson Mask, don't watch this. Because this Kerry Von Erich bleeds freaking buckets, dude. But yeah, that matchup too, and like Michael said, like Jerry never got paid, but he kept the damn belts anyway, and that was, I think, really too. This card as well is really the demise of Supercards in North America as well, because at this point it's just like none of these promotions want to work with each other. I mean, think about it. How the hell is that? No disrespect to the last match, which you had the Rock and Roll Express against the Stud Stable in the last match. Why would the unification match not go on last? You know?
Again, yes. Like I said, title match is not going on last when it's the main title.
Especially with something like that, with
Yeah.
historic, and you're unifying the titles. So, but yeah, and
I want to go back to the AWA thing real quick, and then I'm sorry, you can have your show back.
No.
I got to looking at this. So what I'm reading here is that tag match was supposed to be Rose and De Beers, but
really?
Buddy and De Beers worked an indie show that they weren't supposed to, and weren't
That's
allowed.
amazing.
And
You
then
work
and
an
then they
indie
threw
show
masks.
instead of the
They threw masks on Fuller and
Jim
Knobs.
Golden?
That's it. That is very.
Now,
How bizarre.
like I said, you wanna check with those other guys that I mentioned earlier that probably know a little bit more to the story, but it would make sense why that was be the main event. Like they had hyped the De Beers and Rose and them.
But
and then
still, though, like on paper, though, the way I vaguely can remember, but in footage I've seen from the past, it seemed like all they were hyping up was this unification match, though. So I don't know, but ultimately this would be the demise of Supercards. But as we transition here on Learning the Ropes, now we're going to kind of come full circle, so to speak, because don't you worry, Super shows still would exist, and they did quite well over in Japan. See what I'm doing here because we're talking Forbidden Door, right? But anyways, and this is crazy to me because listen to this. The first one I want to talk about, this takes place in 1990. The WWF, Old Japan Pro Wrestling, and New Japan Pro Wrestling's Wrestling Summit, which is insane. Now, this takes place in the Tokyo Dome on April 13th, 1990. And
Hold the phone.
What?
Where did it take place at?
Oh. The Tokyo Dome!
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. But this show, my gosh, man.
I don't know what that
dude.
was, but okay.
In Tokyo Dome.
Okay, oh, we just like call it. Yeah, it's a long story. 53,742 fans for this show, man. And I mean, I can imagine why, because you have the two biggest promotions in Japan. Oh yeah, by the way, teaming up with the biggest promotion in the entire world at the time with the WWF. I mean, this is a license to print money, baby. Get you some of that yen. Listen to this lineup, though, these matches. Very interesting. Of course, you have like a mix between these towns, like Jushin Thunder Liger going up against Akira Nogama. Also, you had this I find fascinating. And go back and watch this. Bret Hart against Tiger Mask. And this is Tiger Mask 2. And if you folks know, we are talking about Mitsuhara Misawa against Bret Hart. Like, who arguably both of those guys, like Misawa has been referred to as the Bret Hart of Japan, essentially. So,
am I obligated to stay for the rest of the show, or can I just go watch that match?
And to answer your question, Irish, no, that was later on in '93 when Hogan said that. But dude, this matchup, man, or this card, man.
The Great Kabuki versus Greg Valentine.
Yes, absolutely, dude. And
I love how the only non-match that doesn't have any Japanese wrestlers is Jake Roberts versus the Big Boss Man.
Well, there's also too. Look, Ultimate Warrior and the title against
DiBiase.
DiBiase on this card as well. But like, to me, the one that got me was the Misawa freaking Bret Hart match, which I didn't even know existed until I think I saw you post a video, Nicholas, on TikTok. I think you posted like a video of that match, if I remember correctly.
I post a lot of matches. It could have been me.
It's like, I've lost track, brother.
I don't know. That's why I started dating. I had to put dates on stuff because I'm not sure if I'm repeating matches. I'm trying not to, but
I always wondered why you were doing that. Okay, that makes
sense. And then
sense.
all of a sudden now the TikTok app is starting to date them themselves, so you can do a remembrance. But I go through stuff and then I delete it, and I can't remember if I shared it or not. I got real bad memory issues, man.
Right there with you, dude. How about this one? Jumbo Tsuruta and Haku against Mr. Perfect and Rick Martel. I love this next one, dude. Tenryu against Macho Man Randy
I need that
Savage.
match. I need to see that match.
Oh my God!
That one,
why isn't this on the network? Why isn't this on Peacock? Give me what I want.
I'm pretty sure I have this on VHS somewhere.
Because
Nicholas, I need a copy of it, buddy.
We got right, Ruby. Ringside Ruby's here. We got pretty.
Hi, Ruby.
Say hi. Do I got a big tub of VHSs in the bathtub? We're moving stuff around, and I didn't have anywhere to go, so our bathtub down here is just full of VHSs. I got to go through. But yeah, I'm pretty sure. I know that they had it on a Coliseum. I want to say one of them Coliseum.
Oh, I didn't realize it was a Coliseum video release.
I'm pretty sure 90. I'm pretty sure. Don't bet the farm on that, but I'm pretty sure it's on one of them.
Okay.
But then, as always, I could be wrong.
Now, the main event of this show was Hulk Hogan against Stan Hansen. But what I really want to talk about, what's the most significant about this show, this would be the last in-ring match for Andre the Giant.
Yeah.
As Andre the Giant would team up with the Giant Baba to go up against Demolition. But unfortunately, after this, like Andre just wasn't the same after that. But still, what a great career. One of the all-time greats, Andre the Giant. But his last match was on this card. So you can see why it drew so well as it did. Now, here's something I find fascinating is if you fast forward a year later in Japan, you have the WWF teams up with a promotion called SWS. In the Tokyo Dome. But what I find interesting about this is before this, like about 2 weeks before the Tokyo Dome.
WCW New Japan.
Yes.
Super
and they
Show.
drew,
this is where I thought you were going to go.
Yeah, they drew 64,000, whereas the WWF show with SWS drew only 43,000, which I find fascinating. And we're going to talk about that show next, but I want to talk about this one first, though. And I've actually checked this out. I'm just going to share this. Boom. PWI Supercards from 91, and it's mentioned right here, folks. Right here. But some of the matches to talk about on this one. Listen to this main event, first of all. The Legion of Doom against Hulk Hogan and Tenryu in your main event. Could you imagine? The Macho Man against
Hulk Hogan's
George
actually probably
Takanawa.
wrestling in that match, too.
Yeah, there's that, too. Then you have Masahiro Funaki against Nakio Sanayo. Ultimate Warrior and Sergeant Slaughter. But yeah, dude, like this is an interesting card. But what's most interesting, this card hosts that infamous Earthquake against Koji Katao shoot match.
Oh,
Happened on this card. Yeah.
that's where that match happened? Was that card?
It happened on that show. Yeah. Which I find fascinating. But yes, let's talk about the WCW New Japan shows. And here is the coolest thing about this. Well, let's talk about the first one, but the second one's got some real historic significance, which we'll talk about here in a minute. Now, these shows, and by the way, my good close personal friend, Mr. Nicholas, if you happen to have any of these on VHS, I would love to borrow them sometime.
Okay. We'll see what we got.
Pull out the
dive
old,
right into the bathtub.
yep, pull out the old VCR recorder, and you know, make copies of it. You know.
You are talking my language, brother. So, but this WCW New Japan show, man, loaded card, loaded with tremendous talent. Some highlights we'll talk about here. Jushin Thunder Liger against Akira Nogama for the IWGP Junior Championship. How about this one? Arn Anderson and Barry Windham representing the Horsemen going up against Masa Saito and Masahiro Chono.
Oh,
By the way, Masahiro Chono, another pride of Washington State. Just found that out a few months ago. He's from Seattle.
You're kidding me. I didn't know that.
Would you? He moved to Japan when he went back to Japan when he was a little kid, but he was born in Seattle, Washington.
did it?
Well, I think I'm going to have to steal that from you as a wrestling bullshit fact of the week or something. I did not know that, dude. That's pretty cool.
One of our friends just did a podcast on Dave Sullivan, right?
Yes.
Jay from Jay Knows Wrestling just did like a thing.
Right?
Yep.
Dave Sullivan is the equalizer.
Yes.
Yes,
I was about to
Scott
mention
Norton.
that match because I'm a huge Scott Norton is my favorite NWO member.
That's a good one, dude.
Scott Norton and Big Show are the only two wrestlers I've ever met that after I thanked them for everything they did, they started crying. Wow. Scott Norton in Dallas, Texas at a WrestleCon, when I brought my AWA shirt, he started crying to me and he said, "Nobody remembers me from the AWA. It's the NWO. I can't believe you guys still come out to see me." And it was really
I'm more of a fan
emotional.
of his stuff in Japan.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I'm telling you. And Big Show was the same way, but we're talking Scott Norton right now. Scott Norton, I've met him 3 times, all 3 times class act. He actually appreciates his fans.
I would love to meet Scott Norton.
I would love to meet Scott, but yeah, he's my favorite NWO member, and yeah, his stuff in Japan is phenomenal. I feel like he should get pushed more in WCW.
Yeah.
Oh, totally. Totally.
He's another one you kind of wonder when you look at him. Like, if I were booking a show, never have him say a word, come out and just kick the shit out of people.
Yeah.
And I would have put a belt on him, made it real hard for him to lose it. But that's here nor there. This super show is exactly what it is.
It really is. Like Steiner Brothers against Hiroshi Hase and Kitsuki Sasaki.
Yeah, but then you got a guy El Gigante.
Michael, we're not talking about that. We're just gonna skip past that because you skip past that one and the next one.
Oh,
let's cook, baby. How about this? Vader and Bam Bam Bigelow as a tag team going up against Doom, Ron Simmons and Butch Reed.
By the way, on Wikipedia, he goes by Crusher Bam Bam Bigelow.
Yeah.
Well, I think, shit, Nicholas, you may help me out with this. What was their tag team name in Japan? Wasn't it like Crush something Force or something like that?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
can't remember, but
Yeah.
they did have a
Well, that's like I always forget. Gordy and Williams had a tag team, Miracle Violent.
Miracle
I
Violence
don't.
Connection.
It's such a great name, but I always that's on me not being the greatest pro wrestling fan ever. Close,
Yeah.
but not there.
But let's talk about the last two matches I really want to highlight on this
let's.
card. The Great Muta against Sting. I mean that
Yeah, that's always
sells
magic.
itself.
Was it big, bad, and dangerous?
Yeah, I think that's it. That sounds about right.
That's
Yeah.
what Wikipedia says, at least.
Yes, no, yeah, they're big
That sounds about right. Yeah.
Yes.
But the main event of this show was a champion versus champion match, title for title. Tatsumi Fujinami, the IWGP champion, going against Ric Flair for the NWA championship, which was a tremendous matchup. But the significance of this matchup is Fujinami would defeat Flair, but there would be some controversy about like a title change. So, and they actually settled this in North America at the very first Super Brawl pay-per-view.
Tampa.
Back in Tampa,
Tampa, Florida.
Which
Jim Ross started screaming about where Tampa was located and where they were. I'll never forget that at the pay-per-view was giving a geography. At one point, somebody had said something. It's Tampa. There's the Bay, and then there's Tampa.
Good God, we're in Tampa Bay.
Jesus, there's the Bay, and then there's Tampa. Anyways, that is my good friend for Wrestling with Classics, the Fujinami Flair Super Brawl and the Super Showdown are his absolute favorites. Those are, if you guys
Good
really
matches.
want to get some classics watched,
There's
I
some
highly
good-
recommend
yeah.
watching that.
Those are some great matches, dude. Fast forward a year later to the set. Now, there's 3 super shows that WCW did with New Japan. Now, folks, here is the significance of the second one. This is the very first ever January 4th Tokyo Dome show. That's right. It was actually a WCW New Japan super show. So this is the predecessor to Wrestle Kingdom, believe it or not.
Oh,
Yeah.
I never really thought about the date thing.
Yeah, because this was the
Yeah.
January 4th. Once again, phenomenal crowd. You get 50,000 on this show.
See, I remember that from when we did that History of Wrestle Kingdom show way back in the day.
That's right. Which you can catch a replay here now on Cole TV in the archives. Look under
Cheap plug.
Great success. Anyway, so let's talk about this card too, and this is a loaded one too as well, man. How about this? The Enforcers, Iron Anderson and Larry Sabisco. I like this one going up against Shiro Koshinaki and Miyayoshi O'Hara. Jushin Thunder Liger in a 6-man tag match on this card. Dusty and Dustin Rhodes teaming up, going up against Masa Saito and Kim Duke.
Side note, real quick about Kim Duke. Do we know who Kim Duke is? He was Tiger Chung Lee in the WWF.
Yeah,
and Tiger Taguchi. I just want some of the young guys. They go by different names, but Kim Duke is another one that we met. Very nice man. We'll talk to you. Very knowledgeable about pacing a match, but just so I just wanted to add that so in case some people weren't sure who Kim Duke was. I'm sorry.
So I want to talk about the match after that and Tony Hall versus Scott Norton, because if people don't know, Tony Hall, Ludwig Borga.
Yeah,
that's right. That's true. And that would be a hell of a matchup.
And after Tony was not a real great person.
No,
not so much.
Which doesn't matter. We're talking wrestling matches.
Yeah.
But there's some blunt force trauma right there for a match.
How about this one? Shinya Hashimoto against, oh boy, you had a rough night, buddy. God bless him, though. Against Bill Kazmaier, the world's strongest man. Oh, man. And no, we're not going to talk Fader and El Gigante, Michael. Just throwing that out there. We don't talk about El Gigante on this show.
By the way, every time I come on this show and we talk WCW, El Gigante always has a match and always has got something Why do you guys always
looming.
gotta have to talk about early WCW?
He always fucking hangs around. It's like, just go away, you big 7'8" goofy bastard. But anyways, Antonio Inoki against Hiroshi Hashi's on this card, though. Now we're cooking with some gas. How about this one? Lex Luger and Masahiro Chono for the WCW heavyweight title.
Yes, please.
Oh, yeah. By the way, IWGP heavyweight championship, Riki Choshu against Tatsumi Fujinami. But,
And then the main event tag is crazy.
yeah. Sting and the Great Muta teaming up to go against, I don't know, the Steiner brothers. Are you kidding me?
I have a theory about this tag partner on Saturday that's going to be revealed.
Oh, I know who it is.
Oh, you guys know?
Oh, I know who it is. It's got to be.
Oh,
you're gonna. I think I know who you're gonna say. Go
I
ahead.
was going to say Muta.
Oh, that makes
Muda
sense.
had his last match.
Wrestlers retire, unretire all the time.
This is
Terry
true.
Funk
You know what
retired
Hulk
in
Hogan's
the
done over the last 20 years?
But seriously, guys, can I have the floor for a minute? Can I have the floor here? Please, I just need the floor real quick here, guys. Okay, I'll bring you right back in. Tony Khan, give me Tetsu Naito. I need Naito at Forbidden Door. Sorry, guys, I had to do that. Please forgive me. I had to give a personal message to Tony Khan. I need Naito at Forbidden Door. Damn it, he should have been there last year, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
He doesn't want to come to America.
This is true.
That's why it's in Canada.
Yay! But that's the whole point. That's the whole reason they went to Canada is for Naito, and I'm for it. Now let's talk about the third and final New Japan WCW Super Show. And boy, oh boy, how about this matchup? Jushin Thunder Liger against Ultimo Dragon for the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship.
Yes, please.
Oh my goodness! Hey, you mentioned Ludwig Borga earlier, Michael. What about Ron Simmons against Tony Ham?
That's wild, and I feel like that's just a lot of bruising.
Yes. You also get Masa Saito and Shinya Hashimoto against Scott Norton and Dustin Rhodes. Scott Norton and Dustin Rhodes, that's an interesting tag team. But I couldn't dig it. Also, now this is real famous matchup of significance. You get the IWGP and NWA championship being combined as the Great Muta, the IWGP champion at the time, would defeat Masahiro Chono, who was the NWA champion, thus combining the belts and making Muta a double champ.
Which is funny too, because you don't see too many of the belt guys talk. I shouldn't say too many. My circle talking about those being intertwined there.
Yeah, no, you're
technically they're technically that lineage would have become one at one point.
Now I think this is an interesting matchup, and don't sleep on it. Sting against Hiroshi Hashi. Yeah,
I think Hashi doesn't get. I don't think he gets.
He doesn't get nearly enough credit. He really
Not at
doesn't.
all.
He gets lost in the shuffle, which is a damn shame.
Which is hard.
Wrestler.
I mean, there's so many guys, there's so many gals, there's so many pro wrestlers, and when you start talking, it's hard to But I think we can all agree that it's kind of interesting that he doesn't get thrown up in the conversation more. I guess,
Right.
or I don't hang out with the right people.
You got Road Warrior Hawk and Kensuke
Sasaki, the Hellraisers or Power Warrior going up against the Steiner brothers for the IWGP tag titles.
There's a slobber knot. That's a slobber knot.
Yo,
That's right.
Tatsumi Fujinami against Takashi Ishikawa, and in your main event, Tenryu against Riki Choshu. But man, those WCW New Japan Super shows were amazing. Real briefly, this isn't really a super show, but it ties in with like the New Japan connection with wrestling. What about Starrcade 95 with the New Japan World Cup of Wrestling?
Yeah.
Because here you have like a best of 7 series with WCW guys against going up against New Japan wrestlers. Like some of these matchups, this is great. Jushin Thunder Liger and Chris Benoit. Oh my gosh! Anytime those guys,
match, yeah.
you can go back and watch Benoit's stuff early on as Wild Pegasus against Liger. Chef's kiss.
Yeah.
Koji Kanemoto against Alex Wright. Once again, you get Lex Luger and Masahiro Chono. Those guys always had some great matches. Masa Saito and Johnny B. Bad. Here is a great fucking matchup. This is a sleeper of a matchup. Go back and watch this, folks. You can watch this on Peacock, by the way. Shinjiro Otani against Eddie Guerrero. Oh my God, that was the best match. As good as Liger and Benoit was, that was the best match on this card, in my opinion. Just saying. Randy Savage, the Macho Man against Hiroshi Tenzan, which, by the way, this is a young Tenzan too.
Yeah.
And Sting against Kensuke Sasaki. Phenomenal matches. But kind of going to switch gears here. And before we came on, Michael brought this up, and we're going to talk about it. Michael, you ready to talk about some AAA when worlds collide?
When Worlds Collide, which I will say is not a super show because it is, but it was produced by WCW, so AAA could finally get a pay-per-view in the States, in Los Angeles.
And boy, what a choice for a pay-per-view this was.
And this pay-per-view has significance in a lot of different ways because this is the last pay-per-view you see Benoit, who is known as Pegasus Kid, Psychosis, Juventud, Rey Mysterio Jr., and Eddie in AAA. This was their last event. Yep. They all hopped in ECW at the time.
Oh yeah, and this is a good pace like show, and you get what I found fascinating about this, especially in hindsight. This is kind of like a smorgasbord, a buffet of, if you will, of lucha libre. I mean, you get the little people. You get the mix of like the older generation with the newer generation in this too. So I mean, you kick it off with Mascarada Sagrada and Octagoncito against Esprito and Jarrito Estrada. Now that's in a little person matchup. Perezzo Guerrero teaming up with Psychosis and Madonna's boyfriend. Now, who's Madonna's boyfriend, Michael?
Louis
I know
Spicoli.
You know. Yeah, buddy.
They were part of a faction with Conan, Eddie, and Ray and Art Bar. And they were the biggest heels in the company from 90 to 94. Los Gringos Locos. Los
Gringos Locos. Yep. And they went up against Rey Mysterio Jr. in this matchup, Heavy Metal and Latin Lover. You get a sampling there. You mentioned Pegasus Kid. Listen to this one. So you got Benoit, aka the Pegasus Kid, teaming up with Tito Santana and Mr. Baby Arm dangling himself, Too Cold Scorpio. That's right. I made a dick reference, but it's okay. Going up against Jerry Estrada, La Parca, and Blue Panther. Yeah, I know I'm not right.
A big show.
And then this, Michael, let's talk about this double main event because this is what made the show.
Yes.
This double main event. And honestly, as great as the last match was, it's the 2 out of 3 falls with the Lucha de Apuestos match or the mask versus hair match, which was very common in Japan or in Mexico. You had Octagon and El Hijo del Santo going up against that team, Art Bar and Eddie Guerrero. This matchup is so freaking good. And
this is a blow-off matchup for a 4-year feud. These
4 years.
These teams feuded for 4 years, starting when Eddie was trying to be babyface, and he wasn't getting over with the AAA crowd. Art Bar came in. He was like, you might be of a Mexican descent, but they see you as an outsider.
Right.
So Art Bar kind of, you need to learn to not try to find the love for these guys. And that's when the faction started with the rest of the Americans of land descent. Art Bar was the only white, him and Madonna and Louis Spicoli were the only 2 white guys actually in the faction. But yeah, those 2 feuded for 4 years. And I was telling you guys off screen, what makes this tag team match, it's the last matchup for Eddie in AAA. He would, again, with everyone else, go to ECW. Art Bar was supposed to actually go to ECW with Eddie Guerrero. This was going to be his last match in AAA. Sadly, we would lose Art Bar a week later. But they've never, ever disclosed it, but a lot of people are saying suicide in his home in Oregon.
Yeah, which is a shame, too, because honestly, I feel like this matchup opened a lot of eyes to the greatness that was Art Bar, man. Like, I really feel like he would have had a storied freaking career like
Yes.
him in ECW and stuff, but unfortunately didn't come to be. But seriously, do yourself a favor, folks, and try to find this. I think you can watch it on
It's
YouTube.
on YouTube.
Yeah.
It is
But
on YouTube. Both the Spanish announcing event and the American, because they have it in both.
oh yeah, the English announce is great too with Chris Cruz is awesome with Mike
Yeah.
Tenay on this. Oh yeah.
So both are on YouTube.
But let's talk about the last match on this show. Paraguayo against Conan in a steel cage match. First of all, dude, the steel cage in Mexico, holy shit, that thing was like literally 30 feet tall. It was like, holy crap.
Yeah. And Paraguayo and El Hijo del Santanto and Octagon were in a faction of their own. And Conan was the co-leader of the faction with Art Bart. Like, this was a whole faction warfare centric pay-per-view, pretty much. A lot of these guys were in two feuding factions.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And then there was like, I mean, they were really good friends for years, and then like it just Conan went his separate ways. And this is also a bloodbath too, man. Like I would say, really go back and watch this show, man, because it's really good. It may not be considered a technical supercard, but like Mike's saying, this is like a AAA show that's promoted and put on and produced by WCW. So.
Yes. One of the few great things Eric Bischoff ever did.
Yeah, there you go. And no, we're not going to talk about Collision in Korea tonight, folks, because that's another story for another time.
I was wondering if we were going to bring that up, because if you watch the show they did, the Dark Side of the Ring, that's a wild pay-per-view. That's a wild experience.
Yeah, dude, it's something else. But the one thing I kind of want to get back to and kind of tie around with everything is, once again, New Japan Pro Wrestling. They're like the nucleus of all this stuff, because this is still going strong to this day. New Japan Pro Wrestling, literally as old in the lineage of New Japan, has virtually worked with about every company there is to work with, which I find so fascinating.
You can literally, there's that little break in the 2000s when the independence gone, and then they start doing the shows with the Ring of Honor.
Yes.
Yeah.
The Supercard of Honor. You have the Super Show at MSG.
Michael, you're reading my mind, brother, because that's the next one I wanted to talk about.
Sold out Madison Square Garden.
But the G1 Supercard, and the historicness of this is right there. I mean, nobody but the WWF for years, and still to this day, really, Madison Square Garden's their home. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care they go to Barclays all the time or whatever. It doesn't matter. MSG is still, and always will be, in my opinion, the home base for the World Wrestling Federation, the World Wrestling Entertainment, whatever you want to call it, man. Because, I mean, so the downright significance of this, for them to pull this off, not only pull it off, too, but like sell out Madison Square Garden. I mean, this is just unheard of, folks. But yes, you have the Ring of Honor, and you also have New Japan Pro Wrestling, this G1 Supercard. What an amazing, like, even just on the kickoff, the New Japan Rumble or the Honor Rumble, whatever you want to call it. Like, just, I'll never forget moment in that match, like when Suzuki comes out number 2 against Kenny King, the crowd's going fucking nuts.
Kenny King is an underrated talent that deserves.
And dude, he runs the gauntlet in this match. He goes 42 minutes in this matchup to win it. But there's also a moment with Jushin Thunder Liger and the Great Muta in this on this Battle Royal. But let's talk about the main card here. This main card, Hachi Machi, and what a way to open it up. Now, what was cool about this, it's interesting too, because these guys are stablemates now. But
I was about to say, this is interesting.
For a unification match for the Never Openweight and Ring of Honor television title, with Jeff Cobb going up against Will Ospreay. That's right. B-roll, can you imagine this matchup? Are you salivating just thinking about that?
A youngin' Will Ospreay at that too.
Oh yeah. Of course, Cobb would win this matchup. You know, here's a name I want to talk about briefly. I know she had a falling out with Ring of Honor, and I think it put a bad taste in her mouth. But damn it, and Mike, you may know this. I don't know. I don't think she's wrestling, but I miss me some Kelly Klein, man. Dude, she was such a good talent. Like, and she
She
ends up winning the.
wrestles here and there on the
You don't see her a whole
independents.
lot.
No.
And I know she had a bad taste in her mouth from like how Ring of Honor treated her, unfortunately. But she wins the Women's Honor Championship against Mayu Iwatani in this one. Also, Roosh against Dalton Castle. Oh
Yeah,
my!
that's a
goodness.
crazy matchup.
Yeah.
Dalton Castle and the boys versus Roosh of all people. Phenomenal.
Dalton Castle is a national treasure.
Hey, B-roll, you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready to get your blood flowing? Listen to this one for the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship. Taiji Ishimori against Bandito and Dragon Lee. How you feel about that?
I can dig it.
You can dig it. Man, this was a wild one for the IWGP Tag Team and ROH Tag titles. Guerrillas of Destiny going up against Phil and Enterprises, which was PCO and Brody King. Los Ingobernables, represented by Evil and Sonata and the Briscoe brothers. Now, the big significance of this, yes, this is where that dumbass Enzo Amore jumped the guardrail and tried to go in business for himself, whether it was planned or not, but still that did happen during this.
They were both there, wasn't it? It was him and Cass, right?
Yeah, it was. Now, these last 4 matches on this show, holy moly. Zack Sabre Jr. against Hiroshi Tanahashi.
Let's go.
Taka Michinoku in Zack Sabre Jr.'s corner, by the way.
Yeah, because
Fucking love Taka.
Koto Ibushi against Tetsuya Naito for the IWGP Intercontinental Championship.
Let's go.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God. But you had a double main event on this card. First of all, your Ring of Honor World Championship on the line in a ladder match, a 3-way ladder match. And Matt Taven finally gets his moment. Finally climbs literally the top of the ladder and wins the Ring of Honor World title by defeating Jay Lethal and Marty Scurll, which I always thought was a cool, badass moment because Matt Taven, a staple of Ring of Honor, never really got like that true like push, and this was it. And of all places to win it in Madison Square Garden, let's go. But
in life, you don't often get the opportunity to get your flowers. That was a get your flowers moment.
Yes.
Oh yeah. And then, of course, your main event, you mentioned it earlier, the man who single-handedly sold out to Madison Square Garden, Jay White defending the IWGP Championship and losing it to one Rainmaker Kazuchika Okada. It's weird that we're talking about this because I feel like this card just happened yesterday. But this
It does feel like it just happened.
Right? But we're talking like back in 2019. But yeah, dude, like just this was such a historic moment in the history of wrestling, just because of like you have another promotion in Madison Square Garden and selling it out, like which was unheard of.
And wasn't the narrative going into Wrestle Kingdom like hadn't Okada not beat Jay White in Tokyo Dome?
He'd never beat him, but like he did beat him like here though, of course.
Yeah,
which is ironic. But
yeah,
dude, an incredible card was the G1 Supercard. Now something that's happened here in recent years, we should mention here briefly. The Multiverse of Madness cards that's been going on WrestleMania weekend
I love Impact.
from Impact and New Japan, which we saw a pretty awesome one this past year as well.
Yeah. Well, I mean, honestly, Impact in general, I mean, not necessarily super shows, but they're one of those
really
companies.
good with
they're one of those companies that like the door is open.
Yeah.
Like if you think about, we had the privilege of going to Under Siege, not this past year, but the year before. That wasn't a super card, but I mean, we saw Jay White, Good Brothers. I mean, you saw a little bit of everything. Tomohiro Ishii.
Yeah, and I remember, what up, MJ? I remember even in their early days when they were at NWA TNA and they would do the World X Cups.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah,
and you were seeing like Shocker, like
Shocker,
Psychosis, and
if you really want to go back with interpromotional stuff between Impact and New Japan, I mean, there was several of those early Wrestle Kingdom cards that featured a lot of Impact wrestlers like Kurt
Yeah.
Angle, Jeff Hardy,
Yeah.
the Dudleys, or I'm sorry, Team 3D, and so much more. But yeah,
Are we allowed to announce what one of our upcoming topics is on Learning the Ropes? Have we already talked about this?
I don't know what you're talking about, but yeah. Oh, yeah, I know what you're
Yeah.
talking about. Yeah,
Yeah.
because we're talking in a couple weeks. Yeah. Yeah, 'cause real quick, let's get a plug of Palooza in it, I guess. You could say.
Exactly.
So next
Yeah.
week, we are going to talk about the history of Money in the Bank because, hey, it's
Ooh.
appropriate time. But speaking of timing, this is really exciting. We're going to have a 2-part episode where we are going to talk about the history. Finally, we're doing this. This is long overdue. We talked about this forever, but we're going to do a 2-part episode talking about the history of TNA Impact Wrestling. Yeah, let's go.
I'm gonna have to talk to you about that.
Oh, we brother, you're coming back for it. we already talked to your agent. We booked you, dude.
Because especially those early TNA days.
Oh yeah, dude. But let's talk about it, gentlemen. It all started last year. The rumblings of it. Forbidden Door last year. And of course, to B-roll myself and Nicholas, were you at Forbidden Door last year?
No, I wasn't.
Okay, I could not remember, but yes, this was. You talk about B-roll. You lucking out. This was like your first real major show you went to in person.
Yeah, no kidding.
Forbidden Door, for crying out loud.
Yeah,
That is kind of crazy.
Because I can remember having this conversation I had said we went to that Under Siege show. And I was just like, after the show, I was just like, man, I'm just so juiced. I'm just so pumped. And he's like, yeah, because we already knew we were going to Forbidden Door at that point. He was like, yeah, can you imagine how you're going to feel? And I can't remember what the time frame was, but like when we go to Forbidden Door, I was like, I can't even imagine.
But dude, you talk about something magical last year. Oh my gosh. As a matter of fact, how about a little cheap plug here? If you can indulge us, we do have a vlog on this, so why don't we just show you some footage from this vlog because it's pretty
look at
epic.
you.
All right, you see what I did there? I got to get a little plugging in. Come on, man. You know me. You know how I roll, baby. But yes, let's check out some of our Forbidden Door vlog from last year. Yeah!
We had pretty good seats.
Amazing seats.
Should we? Okay, let's pull the curtain back a little bit, or crack the Forbidden Door if you want to. Do you remember the intensity of getting these tickets?
Oh my God! It was like we were both trying to get them at the same time. Trying to get the Murder Grandpa. Yeah, Murder Grandpa.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Eddie.
And isn't it crazy that Shooter and Eddie were on the same team last year, and now they're going against each other this year?
Now they're going against each other. It's crazy. It's amazing how a year changes things, dude. Yes, how crazy is this?
Who you think will win this and who you want to win this?
Oh, I thought that was you talking. That was you talking on the vlog.
Yeah.
Black Arrow.
Oh yeah.
I want to get to the match of the night, in our opinion. Yes.
Yeah.
Orange Cassidy and Will Ospreay, and I honestly think this is the match that really people were like finally like all in on Orange Cassidy because this matchup was amazing.
I have my says about Orange Cassidy.
It better not be anything negative, or I'm kicking you off.
All right. So my thing is, so I've been watching Orange Cassidy for a very long time. Since he worked in Chikara, and he
Was he an ant?
Yes.
Okay.
Fire agent. I definitely prefer that gimmick over this Orange Cassidy gimmick.
Really?
Yeah.
Not for everybody.
Unpopular opinion, but okay.
But I do love him as a wrestler.
It's okay. We can still be friends. Because yes, people, you can disagree with someone, and
It's okay.
still
It's okay.
still be okay.
No, you can't. You have to block them immediately.
So good, man. The fall finishes of this matchup. Yeah. My face says it all, folks.
You should have went back to the beginning when we were singing Jericho. I think you already passed that though.
I did.
Or Judas, not Jericho.
God, this was so good, man.
I also remember about this show, I was like literally sitting next to a newborn.
Yeah, there was literally a newborn right next to us. We're like,
Oh, you guys are by a newborn baby and you guys are just cussing up a storm? Like, that's nice.
Hey, we're better than the people that are eventually going to get in a fight on the other side of the arena.
oh yeah, that did happen on this show.
I forgot about that.
Oh, I called it. I called it.
You did, buddy. Such a good time. Now this moment popped me
Ooh,
like crazy.
I forgot about this.
Not this.
No, not
Wait
this.
for it.
Not this.
Wait
Not
for it.
this. Nobody cares about this. No disrespect, Rock and Marrow and best friends.
I was gonna say, dang, you're gonna be rude to chaos?
No, Roppongi Vice is one of my favorite theme songs because it always gets stuck in my head. And at this moment, I just remember I had no clue. I had no clue why everybody was going crazy. Now I do.
Shibata is
God,
a
I love
god.
Shibata.
Shibata is a god.
I was like, why is Jeremy so excited?
Lots of reasons, my friend. Holy shit! Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, for a
Shibata.
newbie and not knowing who Shibata is, that would be kind of like, what the fuck's happening?
Yeah.
Of
I
course.
remember
We got to talk about this moment too. A certain someone's debut.
Oh, yeah. Okay, that's what I thought. But
Oh.
fix your internet, bro.
I love Zack Sabre Jr.
XOJ, what do I always want them to do when they have like the entryway that has like the screens on it? I want somebody to. I always want somebody. Oh, I'll shut up.
Goosebumps.
Okay, I'm just saying. You think that pops loud though? Can we please
I'm getting there.
go to the pop of the night?
Yeah, watch this. Dude.
Cowboy shit.
Yeah,
Oh, my God.
Listen to us mark out for our boy, but
But it's after this, folks. Because for me, this is what I wanted to see the most on this card, dude.
All right, you ready for this place to explode?
Yes, I am, Jeremy, from a year ago.
I'm not ready for it.
Yeah!
Oh, man. This was Nicholas Wednesday night, folks.
Let's fucking go!
I mean, literally,
So
like
good.
no. Okay, I'm getting goosebumps right now.
Listen to the pure ecstasy of my voice. I was so excited.
It's yeah.
Like this replay does not. The place was going literally like the deafening. Like it was deafening in there. Like people.
But you get the idea, folks, man. There's just that show last year was just so magical, man.
Take me back.
I know, but hey, dude, let's talk about it here real quickly when we wrap up here tonight. This year's Forbidden Door. So we going into it last year, we were just excited for the sheer like the fact that it was happening.
Correct.
But like it was a bummer because you had a lot of like got talent that was off the
Injured.
card. and
Yeah.
injured. So
It was injury plagued.
Yeah.
Actually, in the media scrum today, or whatever you want to call it, Tony Khan said that was probably the toughest time he's ever had with booking, was just due
But-
to all the injuries at that time.
yeah, but I mean, it was still such an amazing show. But folks, I can't hype it up enough. This year is going to be a huge thank you letter to everybody because this card is loaded. We're getting Danielson Okada. That's all I really need, man. And oh yeah, by the way, you're also going to get Osprey and Omega 2. My gosh, just all the matches they added last night. Like, dude, this to me feels like the Forbidden Door. Like, this truly feels like the most over the top, like playing with my action figures. Yes, Punk Kojima. Had to do it once.
Thank you. Make me pop.
But dude, this guys, let me ask you this real. What are you most excited for about Forbidden Door as far as on the card for this year?
Honestly, MJF Tanahashi.
That's fast, and that's going to be a fascinating matchup, I think.
And just because I love her so much at her young age, Athena, Billy Starks. I know it's just for that weird Owen Hart tournament that I'm not even a fan of. But Billy Starks being on pay-per-view, like this pretty much says your AEW.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, it's fascinating, man. So.
Oh, by the way, next month my boy Nick Wayne debuts.
Yeah, has he 18 yet officially, or
no, he turns 18 next month.
Yeah, that's what AEW is going to have a heck of a summer, and like one of the minor things, and I mean this no disrespect, but they're going to get the debut of Nick Wayne like this summer, as well as the Forbidden Door 2, as well as All In.
And if I can plug my home company, his debut match is Shane versus Swerve. And if anybody does not know, for the last 5 years, Shane Strickland and Nick Wayne have had an ongoing feud up here in Seattle for Defy Wrestling. Mm-hmm. Their matches are always phenomenal. The fact that these two are going to be able to bless their talents on TV. By the way, also, my boy Shane Strickland facing Tanahashi this weekend on Collision. Seattle's killing it.
Yeah, dude. And then for me, like, I'm excited. It's the double main event, whatever you want to call it. But Okada and Danielson for me, it's like, oh my god. What about you, Nicholas? What are you looking forward to the most on this card?
Obviously Okada, just out of fandom. But I think two matches. I don't know if they're what I'm looking forward to, but I'm intrigued. I want to see how Jack Perry and Sonata work together, and then the 10-man tag thing. Just because I think they're going to build something. I think something good's going to come out of this. That's kind of unexpected. I really got into Eddie and Mox on Wednesday night. I thought that was a really good interaction story, soap opera wise to wrestling. And then Ishii's going to be there, so I think you're going to get that. I think you're going to get a bunch of stuff that doesn't make sense if you're one of the guys that are looking for how wrestling matches should be booked.
Like we say, come full circle. Like that's what this show we talked about a lot tonight. It doesn't storyline wise doesn't make sense. It's just going to be great in-ring wrestling.
I know that I'm one of the few guys. I understand when you have to have Sonata on here and you got to find the right opponent for him. But I'm telling you, after the Christian thing at Revolution with Jack Perry's in-ring stuff is a lot better. As far as him being like a character being developed, this is a perfect match for New Japan, and it's perfect for a young guy like Jack. If Sonata, obviously isn't going to lose his championship. I mean, unless there's some sort of heavy betting, I don't know. But this is something that can make Perry come out of this looking phenomenal and pushed a little bit more as one of these pillars. But that's what I am. I like Sonata. I think that's going to be a surprise one that I think if you're certain things you're looking for. I think we know what matches are going to fire, are going to be hitting all cylinders. And I see a lot of backlash to Perry or Jungle Jack or you know, and Sonata. But I think it's actually really a perfect matchup for this card. Because who are you going to take one of your top 5 guys and have him lose to Sonata? You know what I mean? Where we have Tanahashi and MJF, you know that they're going to come out, both are going to look very well at the end of this, or both are going to look, you know, equal. And I'm trying to explain to that.
I'm on Wikipedia right now, and I'm looking at the card, and I don't know if they announced this last night. But one of the last matches on the card is Adam Cole. Tom Lawler.
Hey, this is a spoiler-free show.
It's on Wikipedia.
Yeah, but I do agree. I think Jungle Boy, that match is going to steal the show.
This is learning the ropes. This is not prediction show.
I did. What was that for? Was that announced like?
It's announced on Rampage.
Okay, it's already online. That's why I was confused.
Well, Tony's going to take that down, and Michael, I'm sorry. I think Tony's going to come after you next, buddy.
That's why I was like,
now we can't monetize this, and we're not getting night.
I was reading that, like, when did that get announced on Wednesday? Like, when did that match get talked about?
I know you guys are going to wrap up here real soon, but I had written down something that I wanted to bring up about companies working together, and we're almost 24 years since the Curtis Comes Home show. Now, Mark Curtis was a referee for WCW, and he was going through cancer, and they were raising money for his treatments. But this show had ECW, WCW, and the WWF on it. And I'm just going to read you a couple of the matches real quick. Eddie Guerrero defeated Billy Kidman and Shark Boy. You had Public Enemy against Bo James and Roger Anderson, but that was a big for that small town. But you had Mankind, Al Snow, D'Lo Brown, Chris Jericho, Terry Taylor.
Was this?
1999, July 30th.
James. That is, oh my God.
And then the main event saw Benoit Malenko and Douglas versus Candido, Horner, Tracy Smothers, and Tammy Sitch was working with them and not the triple threat of ECW. Ooh. But really cool show. Only 1,600 people went to this, but the company split the airfare and the pay to make sure Julio De Niro from ECW was on this. Yeah. I just wanted to say that this is
They did, because Bull James, I'm pretty sure he worked in NXT. Because that's when he started his career.
Yeah, I'm just reading off this. I think it's
both. I think that's one of like independent guys who were Mikey Whipwreck trained, or like a bunch of like, because Julio was like doing tryout matches for ECW, like that East Coast New York. Yeah,
I just wanted to point that out real quick.
No, that's a great, and there's a lot we probably missed too. Yeah, like the Brian Pillman shows.
The Brian Pillman shows.
This was a big one at the time. Because these guys were all like, I think they were even champions at the time on WWF, and they were working together.
They were working together. It's for a good cause too.
Yeah, that Brian Pillman tribute show they did in not the Philadelphia ECW arena, but the one in Queens. Mm-hmm. That show's lit. That's a great show.
All these shows.
And I know that those are charity events, and they're not quite what we were talking about. But getting companies to work together was my point. Thank you.
Yeah, no, absolutely, my friend. Well, we've come to that time here. It's time for our last Plug-A-Palooza of the night. And yeah, we could talk on and on. There's so much we've probably missed, honestly. But hey, we covered the pretty ground basis here. You get the idea. The point being, super shows did exist long before the New Japan AEW partnership, just saying. But last Plug-A-Palooza of the night. So stay tuned later this week on Cole TV, as Saturday you can see our Forbidden Door prediction show, which is a loaded prediction show. We got some incredible content creators on there with us. Also, Monday, brand new episode of Pro Wrestling 60, live episode of Pro Wrestling 60. We're going to be talking about, of course, Forbidden Door and everything else that's happened this week in the world of professional wrestling. And hey, next week, come back and join us here on Learn the Ropes, because we are going to be doing a history dive on Money in the Bank. But real quickly, gentlemen, where can we find you? Where can I find you, Simply Nicholas? Give me some of your socials.
I am at Simple Nicholas on all major social medias. One real quick thing, because we're covering this topic, I want to plug Wrestler Weekly. Scotty Richards, and there's a group of guys that run a great thing. They're on on all of it, but they actually have a book coming out on the Super Bowl of pro wrestling, the 1978. Yep, real cool. I'll send up some links on stuff so you guys can get everything. And one real quick thing, Sin Bodhi makes custom LGNs, Crusher Bruisers, Kizarni. Very cool. Get his stuff.
That's dope as hell. I love it, dude. Hey, Michael, tell us where we can find you, my friend.
Literally just on MJDuplesis 1992 on TikTok. That's literally the only social I have.
You can find him. There you go. Well, gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for coming on tonight. We greatly appreciate it. And Mr. B-Roll, why don't you close us out for this week of Learning the Ropes, my friend?
I can think of no better way to close than it. I'm going to steal a line from my good buddy Simple Nicholas. Be well, be positive, and I'm going to add one more thing to it. Just enjoy wrestling. We'll see you next time, kiddos.
Go!